Hello, and welcome to a Brawl modding tutorial. In this video, we're going to cover what, in my opinion, is the best way to mod Smash on your computer as far as I can find right now. I spent a good amount of time trying to figure out a good way to do this and keep it really simple. So what we're going to do in this video is start from absolute scratch and go through the entire process so that at the end of it, you will have a very clean setup for your mod files where you can add new mods or replace them or add custom codes or whatever very easily. So all future tutorial videos will use this as a starting point so that you can follow along and we can have something that we actually build upon. There are a few downloads that we need to get into, so let's jump into that now. These download links will be in the description, and also there will be some other things in the description as well. If you're following along, you can do Google searches, and I'll update the description so you can find it. First, we're going to need Dolphin emulator, of course. And luckily for us, very, very recently, they just released a new version of Dolphin. And I am actually very happy about this because it makes some parts of what we're about to do even easier than it was before. So that's great. You're going to want to download the Windows 64, unless you need something else, of course. And when you have that downloaded, just put it somewhere, like on your desktop or something, that's fine. The next thing we're going to need is something called Gecko OS. You'll probably remember this if you did Brawl mods on your Wii back in the day. You can see like the picture here, that's very nostalgic. This still works, and it has some new versions, and we're going to need this to run our codes through. So you're going to go over here where it says download and hit that, and you'll just save that. Again, maybe just throw it on your desktop or wherever. The next thing we're going to need is something called the NUSD downloader. And this basically will let us download a certain file that we need so that Gecko OS can run Brawl properly. It's a little bit complicated, but we're only using it very briefly. So hit this download link over here and you'll get that. The last thing we'll need is some kind of code manager. And I just wanted to shout out highfive. We'll give him a high five. Because this is the only place I can find where you can download this code manager. I can't find this posted anywhere else. I like it. It's the Ocarina code manager, so we're going to be using it. However, any code manager that allows you to edit .gct files is fine. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. That's the point of the video. Just download this. These tabs we'll be getting into once we actually have some codes to work with. So now, we need to find those files that we just downloaded. I drag those over here. So you'll have the Gecko OS, your Dolphin, your code manager, and your NUSD downloader. First thing we're going to do is unpack our Dolphin. So we'll extract that. Again, I'm going to do this all fresh and brand new. So this is that extracted folder. And before we do anything at all, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to go to where I can see the Dolphin exe. And this is just something I personally like to do to keep it clean, but you're going to add a text document and you're going to call this portable. And it will be portable.txt. As long as a file that's named this is in the same folder as your Dolphin exe, then when you run Dolphin, it will treat this as a portable version, and all of the files that this instance of Dolphin creates will live within this folder, and it won't go into like your My Documents or anything like that. So it's just nice and clean. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to run Dolphin once. That's fine. And here you can see we have a just stock standard Dolphin that has absolutely nothing done to it, which is great. So we're going to minimize that. We're done with that for right now. Next we have Gecko. You can extract this over here. And if you extract that, you're going to get this folder here. You don't need to do too much with this right now, but just to take a look inside of it, you can see some stuff. There's some folders with the name Gecko and a thing called a boot.elf. That will be important, but for right now, we don't need to worry about it. Just remember that it's here. Code manager, again, not super important for right now, but we'll extract it. I already have that over here. You can take a look at that. Just a single exe, no big deal. And then we have our NUS database, which you can extract. I have that over here. And again, this is just a single exe, some stuff. You won't have this downloads folder because that's where I downloaded something and put it in there, which we'll get to. Now that we have all of this, we can go back into Dolphin and start setting everything up. This video will not be covering getting the Brawl ISO at all, so you need to have that already. If you double click here on a brand new Dolphin, you can go and find a directory where your Brawl is. I happen to just have it here, so I'll select this folder, and inside of this folder we have Shattered Memories and Brawl. And now we can go up here to Options and Configuration. Let me see if there's anything in here we need. Nope. Interface is something that we'll need to change. You come down here. There's Use Panic Handlers. We're going to turn that off. I've seen some people talking online that helps. So we're just going to do that. Audio's fine. Paths are fine. You can see here, it's on the desktop in that same folder we made. If you can just check that you actually successfully made it portable like that, and that's all fine. We don't need the GameCube tab. The Wii tab is important. This is all fine. And this is where, in this section, some of the new updates to Dolphin are really handy, because I think this is different than at least the version I was using before. You're going to want to make sure that this Insert SD card is checked on. Allow writes to SD cards is a good idea to have as well, although you don't have to, but probably want that on as well. Your SD card path, you'll notice at the very end, it is WeSD.raw, and so it's a file. Yours might be called something else, maybe it's just SD. I'm not sure if this is because I've already done this on my computer, and before I switch it to portable, it changes to this name, or if that is the default name, I don't remember. But don't worry if it's different, that doesn't matter. Just notice that it's a .raw file. And then down here, we don't need to have this checked, but there's a folder. And you can notice at the end of this, there is no file. So this is just a folder. Now we're gonna have to go to this folder. So let's move this out of the way. And that's under your user, load, and again, yours might be called something different, but like maybe it's just SD sync, but that's fine. Inside of this folder, we'll put everything we need for our SD card. So this is like when you were going to put it in your Wii, you loaded up your SD card, and then you put it into the Wii. Here, we're going to load up this folder, and then we're going to convert it into that .raw file, and that's kind of like plugging it into Dolphin, kind of. Previously, people were using other softwares, external softwares to do this. Let's keep it simple and keep it all within Dolphin with as minimal extra programs as needed. We can just do it this way. Now we can't do it right now. We're going to get to that, but you want to make sure that these options are set on. Under Advanced, we don't need to change anything, so that's fine. You can also right-click on the game and hit Set as Default ISO. That's important. I'll remind you again later. We can check out the properties for the game if we wanted. If you remember before, this is where we found the file system and we saw all of the cool stuff inside of the disk. You can check out the other tabs if you want, but there's nothing that we actually need to change. You might notice a tab here called Gecko Codes and be thinking that that has something to do with that Gecko OS. You're right, except we're not going to be using this. We're going to be doing it a different way. So this doesn't matter at all. Don't get confused by that. Now what we need to do. We have our SD card location, and we have all of the programs downloaded that we need. So now we're going to create our SD card. I'm going to do this manually so that you can see the absolute least amount of stuff that you need in order for it to work, and then we'll expand from there. But once you have this set up, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. The first thing you're going to need is a folder. So remember that this is like inside of the that user load folder. We'll make a folder. And we'll call this apps with an S. And we'll go inside of this. In here, we're going to take our Gecko 1939 and we are going to grab this one here. So you go to the HBC and you want this entire folder, because when you go inside of it, it has stuff and you want the folder. So we're going to throw that into our apps folder. Copy here. Awesome. That's done for the apps folder. Now we need another folder called codes with an S. Inside of here, we are going to be putting our custom codes so that we can load our files off of our SD card. This is where we're going to be getting into the code manager part of things. But the first thing that we're going to do, and again, this will be a copy paste in the description. But we're going to first make inside of here a text file, and you're going to call this RSBE01, and then you're going to open that text file up. And like I said, in the description, there will be a thing to copy paste in here. So I'm going to copy paste that. And what is this? Well, this is the code, or at least the bare minimum codes, in my opinion. And also, well, actually, okay, it's one code and a bonus code. So yeah, it's the bare minimum. This first part here just helps the code manager to know what game this is, and that will help put it all together. Then we have one code here, the file patch code by Phantom Wings, and that continues down. You can recognize that hexadecimal stuff. Then we have a second code called the SDHC extension, and that's by Barrow. And you'll see that it has this like asterisk stuff. Sometimes code now is like written like that. I think it's something to do with how Brawlbox does it. I'm not sure. Don't worry, it still works. For this code, I'd like to shout out this post on the Kitty Corp Meow Mix forum by Barrow. It's a code that allows SDHC cards greater than 2 gigabytes to work. And this was really important back in the day, and obviously now, because if you have a ton of mods, you're going to need more than 2 gigabytes. So those are the only, so thanks again, Barrow. Those are the only 2 codes we need. The other code, the file patch code, I got from this guy. I've never heard of him, but 15 years ago he made a video, and in the description it has the code. So thanks to this guy for helping me 15 years later. I'll have to probably subscribe to him. Once you have this, you can just save, that's fine. And we're gonna open up the code manager. Scary skull, don't worry, it's fine. And on this code manager, we're just gonna, again, we don't care, we'll get into this more later in other videos as we get into more complicated things, but you will need to get familiar with it. So you're gonna open the text file. We're gonna find where we saved that text file, which was, of course, Dolphin user load, and then it was inside of our temporary SD card placement and codes. This guy here, that's the one we just made. Open. You'll see the code manager will recognize the game ID and the game name. That's great. Then we will activate the file patch code and the SDHC extension code. With that done, you can go File, Export to GCT. Don't worry about this stuff down here. Just click Store to File, and then we can put it right back in that same folder, the codes folder. That's fine. We're going to name it RSBE01, and it's going to be named as a .gct, so that's okay. And there it is. 2 kilobytes. Amazing. We're done with the code manager. Oh, thank goodness. Hexadecimal makes my head hurt, and I try to make that as easy as possible for you, so I hope you enjoyed. Now that we have the code, we need to go back to our SD card base, because now we have to add in some stuff from Brawl that we modded. So we need the folder structure for this, and this one is quite a bit. So again, check the description. I'll have it written out so it's a little bit easier to follow, but you can also follow along as I do it. We need private. Then we need a folder we. Sorry, 1 second. Then we need a folder app. Then we need a folder RSBE. And now most of the stuff goes into this folder, but again, we're keeping it really simple and we'll expand in future videos. We're going to make a folder in here called Fighter. Oops, sorry. This should be called PF. Inside of here, we're going to make a folder called Fighter. And inside of here is where stuff like Captain Falcon, Mario, and stuff would go. So you can make a folder for Mario, or you can get it from somewhere if you're copying it. I have, as an example, let's go inside of here. I took off my SD card, the stuff that I had for Mario, but you can put anything in there. And again, remember, inside of Dolphin, you can go to Properties, File System. See, there's that Fighter folder right there. And if you wanted, you could just go into Mario and get whatever you'd like, and then edit it, change the texture or however you'd like, and put it in. But I'm just going to use some example files that I already have for this video, because it's probably going to drag on long enough. So now we have files that are actually going to be replaced into the game. Go back here. We have the codes that are going to actually run so that we can replace those files. And then we have the app that is going to do all of that. Now that we have all of that, our SD card is all set up. Awesome. It's super basic, and we'll be able to expand on it from here. We can go back to load and go back to Dolphin. We're going to go options, configuration, and back to that Wii tab where we were looking at the SD card settings before, and I said we'd come back to it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have our folder packed up into the SD. So we'll hit pack SD card now. It'll give you this large amount of words, which is kind of confusing. You can say yes to that. You can see over here, it generated this file, and it's about 500 megabytes. That's pretty good. Now that that SD card is there, everything within this is inside of this file, and the Dolphin emulator will actually look at this. So from now on, if we want to make any adjustments or edits to our mods, we can just do it inside of this folder, and then we go to Dolphin and pack it up, and we basically publish all of our new changes. So you could copy and paste this and have different mod sets or whatever, and then just publish them, or have different saved off RAWs for different packages or whatever like that. It's very, very easy like this. So now we have to play it, actually, right? I think we've done everything. Let's take a look. We got Dolphin, set it up. We've put Gecko on the SD card, so that's done. We've completely done with the code manager for now. We only needed Noose. Oh wait, we forgot to do the Noose, which is fine, because actually it's totally fine to do that as the last step. Open up that folder. Okay, I deleted the download folder because I thought it was giving me trouble, but it wasn't. Open your Noose downloader. We'll go through this. We'll never have to use this program again, so don't worry about knowing what's going on. Just follow along and we'll be done with it. Hit database, go down to iOS, look at the last number and find iOS 36. Hit latest version. Down here, there's this pack WAD. You're going to want that checked on. Once you check it on, you'll be able to click on this little thing, and you can save it somewhere. We're going to save it just like I did before, just in the same Noose folder that we downloaded, and I'll just make a folder called downloads. And then you can name this whatever you'd like. Just name it iOS 36. Save. And that didn't actually download it, that just told it where to save it. So up here, hit Start Noose Download. It will say it's completed down here, and then we can close this, and we're totally done with that forever. We're gonna close it and go back to Dolphin. Now we have everything totally set up, but how do we launch Smash? Do we just double click on this? Do we run that? Well, no, we're actually gonna run it through the Gecko OS, and then Gecko OS will launch Brawl. So this is your reminder, right click on Smash Brawl and make sure it is set as default ISO. Now we're gonna go File Open or click on Open, and you can go to your, how I've been liking to do this is I go to the Dolphin folder where we had our SD card. So that's user, load, WeSD, and then I just use it right from the apps folder, because once you open it once, it remembers it. And you can save it wherever you'd like, of course, it doesn't matter too much. Once you're in the Gecko folder, there's that boot.elf, and this is what we're going to use to open. So you're just going to double click on this, and Dolphin will load. It will show you that classic Gecko. And when we try to launch the game, we're going to get an error. So we're going to hit A to launch. And it says that this game requires iOS 36. Oh no. Well, that's okay, because we have it. So I'll show you how to properly set that up. You're going to go to Tools, Install WAD. We're going to go and find our NUS folder and that download that we got. We're going to open that. It says it successfully installed this title to the NAND. We hit OK. And now we're going to give that Gecko OS thing a try one more time. And you could probably add... oops, sorry. Dolphin. User. Load. You could add like a path to that here so that you can find it easily. I'm just kind of being lazy about it and going to it. But we're going to go get that Gecko again. Gecko boot elf. You could probably make it, you know, in this list here so it's easier to find. And put it however you'd like. And now that we've installed it, you just hit launch game. And you'll see that it found the game there if you pause. And applied the codes. And now we are in a Smash here. So let's toggle full screen and see if we have actually added in our mods successfully, because that will mean that we are going to be able to do all of my old tutorials just pretty much exactly how they were before, because the SD card setup is just like how it was. It should feel very familiar and be very easy to work with. Here's what we love to see. Group. Moment of truth. Oh, it feels good to do that. Let's get a couple Marios in here. And one more Mario. Let's go to some classic FD. And oh my goodness. Look at it. I don't think that texture was in the base game. I'm not quite sure. Let me know in the comments if you remember this texture being in the base game. Oh, we all remember this one. It's F-Man. He's got an F on his hat. You don't remember? Oh! Wait, no, it's because we hacked the game. Awesome. And that's all you need. So once you're in it like that, you can add all of the things from the old tutorials, and it's really that easy once you have it set up. It took a little while to get to. I tried to explain things pretty thoroughly so that you could follow along. Again, in future videos, we'll get into doing specific hacks and how to do it. But if you followed along and set it up just like I showed, then you'll be able to work on your own mods and go to the Brawl Vault and download mods and add them in. Very quick and very straightforward. Again, you're just going to go to your user, load, here's your SD card, and any Brawl mods that you find, like, you know, maybe you found that Cosmic Mario or whatever, then you just have to make the folder for it and add them in. And that file replacement code will take care of the rest. Now, again, if you're kind of overwhelmed by how many folders there are here, just remember you can go into Dolphin and take a look at the file system again, so that you can just be like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm just going to extract the entire fighter folder and put it here, and then I can just like replace the files that I want instead of building it from scratch. You can do it that way too, and sometimes that's a bit easier to figure out. But as far as the absolute bare minimum things that you need to get started up hacking Brawl to the full potential again, these are the things that you're going to need. You're going to need Dolphin. You're going to need to run it, in my opinion, through Gecko, although there are other alternatives. This one works, as I've shown. You're going to need a code manager of some kind. Not this one in particular, but you will need one. In future videos, we will be getting into more advanced codes, like the custom camera codes and the unrestricted camera codes, custom character select screens, and things like that. So we will need a code manager for those things. Now that we're finished with this video in particular, we don't actually need the NUS anymore, so you could just delete that, that's fine. But these files, and combined with Brawlbox and any other modding software that we're going to get into, will comprise the majority of what we're using from now on. Woo! That was a big one. But honestly, this method is awesome. When you have this set up and running, I mean, it just feels so good. It took me quite a while to figure all this out again and get it working and have it be as simple as this. So if you're having trouble understanding or you get stuck, leave a comment below and I'll try to help you. I'm sure parts of this are still complicated and confusing, even with how I've tried to break it down. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your views. I hope you enjoyed learning about Brawl. We'll be getting into more tutorials going into the future. Stay tuned for those. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Enjoy modding Brawl, and have some fun. Bye-bye.